Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I seem to be doing work later and later in the day lately. A simple answer to that, I suppose. Start earlier. Caught up doing other things this morning. I've only just finished watering and it's getting late. Normal circumstances I wouldn't water this close to the evening, but it's not going to cool down tonight. We're not getting the drop in temperatures overnight, and the daytime temperatures are climbing all the time. So yeah, it's going to be warm. It'll be difficult. Hannah is coming down for the weekend, so she'll be coming to the garden party with me, and that'll be difficult for her because she can't do heat, and it's an outdoor event. There's not really a way of getting away from it. Now this has been planted in leca and topped with sphagnum moss, and I'm hoping that the leca just falls off and we can play marbles. And then the sphagnum moss should just pick off. It's very loose. This has been thought about. Obviously the new roots come out of the base of the plant, and the sphagnum around the base of the plant gets them hydrated and gets them going quickly. And then obviously as they progress they get down into the leca and acclimatise to what will be their normal place. So you know, that's not bad. I mean, I don't grow that way, but it's a perfectly valid way of growing, and this plant seems to be okay. The roots are fine, and the good thing is that the majority of the root tips that are growing, the active roots, are near the base of the plant. So they're in moss, and it's going to go on a mount in moss. So it's not going to get a dramatic change of environment. These roots shouldn't stall, they should just carry on growing. Now if a few of these leca balls hang on and won't let go, it's not the end of the world. But I think they will all come off, as will this moss. Just a matter of picking at it, really. The roots have grown through it, so it's loose enough that the roots, you know, haven't made a big deal out of it. See, although they've sort of attached to that leca, they let go incredibly easy, so it's not something that they attach to readily, which is good. Well, I suppose if you grow in leca, you don't have to worry about repotting, do you? Because it doesn't exactly go off. The need to repot would be because this sphagnum's gone off, and you could probably just take it off the top and top dress it with some new. Or, as far as the leca's concerned, the plant's outgrown the pot and filled the pot with roots and needs some more room. In which case you lift it out of the pot it's in and put it in a bigger one with some new leca around the sides. Job done. Now I have a new growth on here which effectively becomes a lead. So other new growths are highly likely to come out that side of the plant. So I need to arrange that new growth. Elvis making a fuss. Seems to be crying quite a bit lately. He's getting a bit doolally. He seems to be looking round some of the time as if he doesn't know where he is. I mean, they're both 18 now, they're not youngsters anymore. So, right, one thing I have forgotten is the moss. But as I intend to put the moss on top of the plant, we'll get at least one turn of wire on to hold it in place before I attempt to put the moss on. That's if we can find an end. Come on, there must be one here somewhere. There he is. Gotcha. You'd think you could lose it that easily, would you? Now, this is not a huge root ball, but there's enough of it that I need it nice and secure, and consequently I will take quite a long piece of wire off. This is my next to thinnest wire. The thinnest wire I've got is 1 mil, this is 1.5, which is sturdy enough to do this job, but bendy enough to not, you know, to not become difficult. Now we'll arrange these roots in a sort of radiating out from the centre, and then they can be covered. Now where's my new growth? I want my new growth facing upwards, but also slightly to the right of this mount, and the plant slightly to the left. That gives it all of that to grow into. That's my theory. Right, so I'm going to start there. Put my first one there. And go around again to really hold that plant in place. Now we'll get some moss on. So I just need to bend that to make sure it stays put. Right, where did I put the moss? Now I'm not going to use the Welsh moss for this, that's a bit too coarse, and I'll be using my other collected moss, which is starting to get a bit thin on the ground. I do need to probably go and get some more. But I don't want all of these roots covered up with moss. The majority of these roots are used to being in leca, which is a very open media. There's a lot of air in leca. I think I read somewhere, I do read sometimes, not books, but I do read sometimes, that spherical objects, when placed together, have the most amount of air because of their shape, which sounds reasonable to me. You know, if you think about where do they touch? They touch in one small place, don't they? You know, if you had irregular shaped things, you could get sides, and then sides could actually touch in several places and could actually close up gaps. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, spherical objects, when stacked together, have the least contact, therefore the most air. So it's not a bad media to grow in if you like that sort of thing. It doesn't appeal to me, I must admit, and a lot of it is simply because I like things to look natural, and that doesn't. You know, there's nothing like that exists in nature. I suppose river rock, river stones would be the closest you'd get to that. But I like things to look a bit natural, like this will when I've finished. So now all we're doing is holding the moss in place, really. We've done the roots, and it's just a matter of holding the moss and the remaining dangling roots in place, but I need to go under that cane, not over it. Then we should be able to go around once more to hold that bottom section in. That's got it. Now, do my two ends meet? No, they don't. Never mind. So what I'm going to have to do is the two ends are too short. I've either got to undo a coil, which I don't want to do, or just attach it in a different way. And that different way is just to wind the end round what's there. It'll stay there, it's wire. So I'm just winding it round like that so that it stays in place. Like that. And then what I always do is push the wire in. That effectively tightens it around the front. So there we go, Dendrobium glomeratum. I haven't got a label for it at the moment, but I can't show you, they're in the house. But I've probably got about 30 labels done at the moment that need to go on plants, and a fair few of them are for Dendrobium mounts. And obviously when you do a mount, that is obviously the best time to put the tag on, because you've got loose ends of wire that you can just poke through the hole, and that's it, job done. But I didn't think ahead, I haven't done the label, so it'll have to come at another time. And all of those Dendrobium labels that are for the mounts, they're not fiddly as such, it's just that I'm going to have to individually tie them on with something. So either like a short length of my thinnest wire, which would be ideal because there's wire on the back of the mount to attach it to. There's not too many of my mounts left in fishing line, only the oldest ones. All the new ones that I do, I tend to wire on. It's just so much faster and far less fiddly, trying to tie knots in fishing line, especially when it's the end of the day and you're tired, is not ideal. I keep forgetting that people object to me having a drink and not actually drinking any of it. And I keep forgetting because I need to get on to the next thing, which is to show you the new bloom, as in the title. Now, it's not fully open yet, but you'll get the gist. And it is a beauty. And the story behind this bloom, there is a story, is several years ago, and it must be quite a few years ago, come to think of it, I organised a minibus trip to Rithlington School, as in the Rithlington Orchid Project. You can Google that and look it up. It's basically a set of greenhouses, and their mentor and main teacher for the project is Simon Pugh Jones, and he is actually the chairman of the British Society of, come on, I can never get the Orchid Society of Great Britain, which is where I went on Saturday. He's the president, and basically the school runs a set of orchid greenhouses as a project and part of schoolwork. They have their own laboratory where they process seeds and germinate them, and then grow them on, flask them up, and then eventually the young plants are available for sale at the shows that they go to. And the work is done by the school kids. It's part of their project. You've obviously got science, you've got biology, you've got maths, you've got work ethic, you've got retail. All of those subjects come into that project, plus the enjoyment of growing orchids and getting out of said maths and English by looking after the plants in the greenhouses. But that was the first place where I realised that it doesn't matter how long you've been growing, you can be embarrassed by a 12-year-old child, may have even been younger. I was visiting and I was filming around the greenhouses, taking great care not to get any of the kids in the shot, obviously. And I asked about a Victoria Reginae, trying to be clever and pronounce it in the Latin way. And the child just looked at me with a blank stare as if to say, "You idiot, it's Victoria Regina, after the Queen." And I went about that big. It was wonderful to be escorted round and shown all the orchids and the knowledge that was there by these youngsters and the enthusiasm that was there. So, and I mean, they get to go abroad, they get to go to places in Africa and the Far East on conservation projects. It is a hell of a thing. My worry is when Simon is no longer there. At some point he's going to retire. At some point somebody else is going to take over. And who will it be? Is there anyone that could take over that project with that enthusiasm? And you know, the enthusiasm that says, I'm going to take a group of school kids with some teachers to the middle of Africa, in the middle of the jungle, to do a conservation project with people we've never met before. You know, it's quite a big deal. Anyway, that's that. What I will do now is get the camera off, so you're going to get seasick. Let me just get that out of the way in case I knock it. I've got to find another space on the flipping rack now. Well, you can go in a shady-ish area. So you can go around the back of the sunny rack and lower down, so there's a few plants above you. Just while you get established, so you can go just there, and you're in good company there. You've got Nesta, a Phyllum, Primulinum, you know, you're in good company there. So, right, so that's that one done. Now we get the camera off the stand and I will show you this new bloom. In actual fact, yes, I will get the camera off. So a bit of seasick coming up, but probably not too bad. Let's see what we can do. Getting it off the tripod's not so bad. It's turning the screen round and getting my hand in the strap that makes all the wobbling. In fact, I'm going to pick the pot up and bring it up here, because then it'll have a background to look against. Right, so continuing with the story while you get your first look at the bloom, I took this minibus to the Ridlington School project with some orchid people from the society, and a good friend at that time bought this for me to say thank you for organising the minibus, because otherwise that lady couldn't have got there. You know, I mean, I could have just driven in the car, you know, with Hannah and gone anyway, but she couldn't have got there any other way, she said, so she was well pleased, so she bought me this. Now this is Miltonia Summer Glory. So it's a hybrid, and the blooms are variable. So if you look at the lip on this one, it's got that lovely deep purple veining fading to a very pale edge, and then the petals and sepals are a basic palish yellow with I'd call that a brownish red main colouring. But if you look at the lip, it's got one single spot. Now I bet when the other bloom comes out it won't have one single spot, and even if it has, it'll be in a different place. And so they can be quite variable. But I nearly lost this flipping plant, but it's managed to recover. I managed to get 2 new growths to push out, and as a consequence of those new growths I actually got a good root system, and I half expected these growths to bloom, and I was in 2 minds whether to take the spike off, because it's still not a strong plant. Easy way to tell when you're thinking about strength is the size of the oldest bulb. Well, my latest bulb is the same size as the oldest bulb, so this plant, as far as this bulb is concerned, has got its strength back, therefore I will let it bloom. And it's an inferior spike with just 2 buds. When this is finished blooming, it will probably push out a new growth, or maybe even more than one, from both of these leads. Those 2 growths will be stronger. Next time it blooms, providing we don't have another failure, we should get possibly 4 or 5 blooms on the spike, which would be more normal. So there we go, Miltonia Summer Glory. Not fully open, it will open quite flat. They are, you know, be more like that. But lovely colour, gorgeous colour. And yeah, there is another new bloom, but I'll do that another time, because it's tiny and I shall have to set it up and get the camera on the tripod again and get him really close, or you won't see anything, it's so tiny. Now, who can guess what that is then? Those that have been around a while following the channel, what is the one plant that I've got that has really tiny blooms and I still kept it? Because you know me, I'm not too keen on blooms you need a magnifying glass for. Well, this one's not quite that small, but I would say it's probably my smallest bloom, or one of them. And in addition to that, it's a genus that I only have 1 of. I used to have more, but I've only got 1 now. Nice little species. So, answers on the postcard. 5 useless Roger points for those who get it right. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.